Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin, check. You already know. Let's go. Golden Blooded is a college football YouTube channel for entertainment. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get into our next college football video. Rumors. Who doesn't like a good rumor? Well, the rumor in Morgantown is that the spread RPO is coming back to West Virginia football. That would be a most welcome change. I've already talked about the history of West Virginia, and the most successful season since I've been a West Virginia fan have been whenever West Virginia implemented the spread RPO. Now, the biggest thing is West Virginia doesn't have an offensive coordinator, so it's going to be interesting to see who West Virginia gets to fill that position, if they do get somebody to fill that position, because I'm hearing that Neal Brown wants to take over the play calling for the offense again. That's already been a fiasco. Please don't let that happen. How does he not learn from his mistakes? Graham Harrell was running a pretty good offense at West Virginia until Neal Brown started meddling in it. First 4 games, West Virginia was a top 25 offense. Then Neal Brown he couldn't resist. He started calling plays and overriding Graham Harrell in the Texas game, and we saw what happened throughout the rest of the season. Even in the Pitt game, Graham Harrell had a play ready for that 4th and inches against Pitt, which West Virginia would have gotten, but no, Neal Brown overrides. He wants to play the analytics game, and it's much more likely that West Virginia punts and stops Pitt rather than converts or misses, and we can't stop Pitt if they take over. First of all, Pitt wouldn't have stopped us. We were averaging like 6-7 yards on the ground. And even if JT Daniels didn't want to take that quarterback sneak, you better believe that Garrett Green would have taken that quarterback sneak. That was a terrible, terrible play call, and it cost us the game. But anyways, we fast forward to today, and the rumor is that the spread RPO is coming back to West Virginia. And I do think that West Virginia has the skill set players to implement the spread RPO right now. Now, we saw a lot of wide receivers leave West Virginia either through the transfer portal or declaring through the NFL draft. We know that Bryce Ford Wheaton, he declared. Sam James, he declared. And then we had Reese Smith enter the transfer portal. Caden Prather, he entered the transfer portal. That was a big-time red flag because Caden Prather was actually recruited by Neal Brown, and he was a Neal Brown guy. So we did lose a ton of production at the wide receiver position. But at the same time, that could also be pointing to what I've been saying about this rumor. West Virginia implementing a spread RPO. So maybe these wide receivers know, hey, we're not going to get the ball thrown to us as much. Still does get thrown, but not as much. So we want to go somewhere where the ball is thrown to us much more than if we were to stay at West Virginia. And West Virginia continues to recruit at a high level at the running back position. What is one of the most important positions whenever you're running the spread RPO? Yes, a dual threat quarterback, but also a running back that can actually get those yards and make the defense stay honest. That way you can throw the ball downfield whenever you want to. You look at the production that's coming back and then the recruit that we just reeled in. First up, running back Tony Mathis. Last year, 135 carries for 562 yards. That's 4.2 yards a carry and 5 touchdowns. Of course, phenom running back C.J. Donaldson, 87 carries for 526 yards. 6 yards a carry and 8 touchdowns. And then we saw Jalen Anderson towards the end of the year. 35 carries for 275 yards, 7.9 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. That guy is a legitimate threat to take it to the house on any carry. But we also got a great recruit in our recruiting class this year via running back. I'm talking about Jaheim White. A 5'9", 180-pound running back out of Pennsylvania. One of the top running backs in Pennsylvania. He's physical. He breaks tackles. He's explosive. He's great at running routes as well, so he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's got a great combination of speed, power, and quickness. Number 47 running back in the nation. Other teams that were trying to get Jaheim White were Rutgers, Penn State, and Kentucky. So we did beat some big names to get this guy, and it just adds to the stable of running backs. Now, I don't expect all these running backs to stay at West Virginia, because let's face it, all these running backs want to get the most carries possible. But I do think that if 2 or 3 of these guys stay, which they will, we have a great base for that spread RPO. So the next position you look at is the quarterback position. And this is where West Virginia definitely has the players in place to run the spread RPO. First quarterback, of course, you already know, Garrett Green. With his arm, 43 for 78, that's 55.1%, 493 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Not impressive stats at all. But on the ground, 45 carries for 276 yards, 6.1 yards a carry, and 5 touchdowns. The dude is a threat with his legs. And I know those weren't impressive stats with his arm, but he does actually have a pretty good arm. And if he can run the ball more, that would open up the defense more, so those throws would be even easier. But to go along with him, we still have 4-star recruit Nico Marco in limited action, 4 for 13. That's 30.8%, 61 yards and 1 touchdown, no interceptions. And then on the ground, 6 carries for 32 yards, 3 yards a carry. So that guy is also a threat with his legs as well. And we could run a 2-quarterback system like we did back in 1993. And that actually worked out well. Remember that year? We went undefeated. We had a chance to grab a share of the national championship when we went to the Sugar Bowl to play Florida. Undefeated regular season, so 2-quarterback system can work if you use it correctly. And I think these 2 quarterbacks would be perfect to use that 2-quarterback system, because Garrett Green can hurt you with his legs and Nico Marco is better with his arm. I will say this about Garrett Green. Don't do what you've been doing the past couple years and only put him in for a series or a play here or a play there. I would actually do quarters at a time if you're going to use 2 quarterbacks in the same game. Now, at the same time, you could have one start this game, another start the other game, and see if that works out. There's all kind of scenarios that you can implement a 2-quarterback system. And I think this is the perfect scenario to where West Virginia could run that 2-quarterback system and make sure it is a spread RPO. I am a little bit worried that I'm hearing that Neal Brown is considering taking full-time play calling duties back. I don't like that. He hasn't had success in the past. Why would he try that again? We need to get a good offensive coordinator that's willing to call that spread RPO. Rich Rodriguez comes to mind. I know. We've had this conversation a million times. Some West Virginia fans are dead set, don't want him back, hold a grudge against him. And I understand that. You don't like the way he left. I don't like the way he left. But the reason that he left was actually admirable. He was trying to get a raise for his assistants. That way he could keep the group together so West Virginia could continue to have success. And he asked for a raise that he knew West Virginia had. He wasn't asking for money that he knew West Virginia wasn't going to be able to give him and his assistants. He was asking for money that he knew West Virginia had. And that's one of the biggest issues West Virginia has run into. They aren't willing to spend the money to have a great coaching staff at West Virginia. We can afford more than what we're paying our coaching staff right now. And I'm not saying that Neal Brown deserves that. Nuh-uh, not at all. I'm saying West Virginia could go out and get a better coaching staff and pay them better if they really wanted to. But Rich Rodriguez at least coming back for the offensive coordinator position, I think that would be a home run hire. Implement the spread RPO. He loves West Virginia inside and out. I don't care about how you feel as far as how he left West Virginia. I know that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, including myself. But at the same time, he does want West Virginia to succeed. And it was West Virginia that dropped the ball. It wasn't Rich Rodriguez. It was West Virginia that dropped the ball. So I think Rich Rodriguez would be a great hire for the offensive coordinator position at West Virginia, especially if the rumors are true and West Virginia is implementing a spread RPO. And then on top of that, a lot of people were talking about, well, we can just bump up Graham Harrell to the head coaching spot if we did fire Neal Brown. I never bought that. I didn't like that idea at all. But if you bring in Rich Rodriguez as the offensive coordinator, then there you go. If Neal Brown gets fired, then you can just bump Rich Rodriguez back to the head coaching spot. The nostalgia factor would be through the roof, and I think he could still run a great spread RPO offense. And West Virginia actually had a pretty decent defense under the coaching staff of Rich Rodriguez. So I think the defense could benefit from this as well. Remember, with the spread RPO, you're keeping that opposing defense on the field a very, very long time. You're not trying to throw an 80-yard touchdown pass on each drive, and so your defense is only getting like a 1-minute rest. Like with the air raid under Dana Holgorsen, our defense got gassed game after game after game because, yes, we scored a lot of points, but we scored them so quickly that our defense had no chance to rest. And then on those drives that we didn't score, we had a 3-and-out in like 45 seconds. That's no rest at all. So implement the spread RPO. Bring back Rich Rodriguez as the offensive coordinator. He can be your fallback plan if Neal Brown does get fired. And I think West Virginia would be headed in the right direction again. So y'all let know in the comments section, number 1, are you hoping that West Virginia does indeed implement the spread RPO again? Number 2, how would you feel about West Virginia hiring Rich Rodriguez as the offensive coordinator at West Virginia? And number 3, would you be okay with West Virginia bumping Rich Rodriguez up to the head coaching spot if they hired him as the offensive coordinator? If and when Neal Brown does get fired. This should be an interesting comments section. That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.